Uh, Thank you, Nariman. Thank you for all. Thank you all participating here at this presentation. As Nariman said, I'm an architect by training. I'm working as a research associate at the Geographical Institute of Cvic of the Serbian Academy of Science and Arts. But the large part of my professional interest and my professional work is dedicated to Roma community and Roma settlements and housing, mainly here in Serbia. So I've been engaged in different programs, different activities, working on the terrain in Roma settlements, but also participating in developing policy documents. And I also been working on developing urban plans for Roma settlements here in Serbia, and that is the main topic that I would like, and the experience that I would like to share today with you. There is just briefly content of my presentation. I will briefly present the situation of Roma in Europe, and I will tell something more about Roma settlements in Serbia. And as I said, the main topic and the majority of my today's presentation will be on the legalization and improvement through inclusion, actually inclusion through legalization and improvement, and I will show you some examples from Serbia. So I suppose that we all are more or less very familiar with the Roma community in Europe, but it is always good to repeat that there is the Council of Europe estimates that there is about 10 million to 12 million Roma who are living in Europe, and they are mostly living in southeast part of Europe, in the Balkans, but also there is, as you can see on this map, but also there is large community, Roma community in Spain as well, in France, and although they are the largest, largest community, largest minority in Europe, they are also facing discrimination and social inclusion in everyday life. They are facing exclusion, discrimination in area of education and access to equal working opportunities, and also in area of housing. So the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights conducted a research 10 years ago in 2009 and comparative report in all member states of European Union, and as you can see from this report and from findings of this survey, from this research, that Roma in all European countries actually do not enjoy equal treatment when we are speaking about right to housing comparing to the other European citizens. And many Roma are living in substandard conditions, which are below even the minimal criteria of adequate housing. The same agency conducted a new research last year in 2019 actually on fundamental rights, and unfortunately they discovered the situation is almost the same. That didn't change, that Roma are still most discriminated and more excluded minority in Europe. When it comes to some numbers here on this slide, you can see the results of the survey conducted by the World Bank and UNDP in 2017, but those showing some numbers about the quality of living of Roma and non-Roma. Those are results for the that are coming from the Western Balkans, but if we are comparing them with the findings of the research done for the other from member states of European Union, they are in general they are very similar. So here I will show you just two indicators. It is on the left side, you can see access to piped water inside the dwelling, and you can see really this gap, the huge gap that exists between Roma families and non-Roma families. And those non-Roma families are not general population, they are families in this research. They made a comparison between Roma and non-Roma who are living in the vicinity of in the neighboring. Those are the neighbors of Roma families. So, for example, in Albania, you could see that half of Roma households do not have access to piped water inside their dwellings. This difference is comparing to the 90% of non-Roma in their vicinity, and the situation in all other countries is also very similar to that. So the other indicator showing us the overcrowding rate, and here we can see the same picture, so that Roma are really living in much worse condition than their neighbors non-Roma. For example, in Serbia, that we are going now to speak more about, 20% of non-Roma are living in overcrowded dwellings, while almost 65%, 3 times more Roma living in such conditions. It is also situation in Albania, in Bosnia, Kosovo, Montenegro, and so on. So in such a situation, is, as I said, it is not something. It is actually something that countries that are from European Union all around Europe actually try to find some solution how to tackle this issue. And many of them adopted different documents, strategies, and they pledged to improve overall housing situation, but implementation of those strategies and documents is not going always well. So let me show you now something about the Serbia and how the situation with Roma settlements is in Serbia. At the very beginning, I would like to show you this historical map. It is an old Austrian map showing the Belgrade under Ottoman rule from 18th century. And here we can see the Belgrade, we can see the fortress, we can see the city within the wall, but here we can see Roma settlement. So even in 18th century, Roma settlements were part of Serbian cities, and even it is still today, not only in Belgrade as a capital, but also in many other cities. Maybe we could go deeper to analyze this historical image from many points of view, but here I really would like to stress that Roma settlements are something that is traditional part of Serbian cities. So the Roma are our neighbors for centuries. Yes, there is the map of, but I will skip this one, and I will show you the not so current situation, but let's say the map of Belgrade from the survey, the mapping that we made in 2000. And here you can recognize the fortress, how the Belgrade spread around the territory, and all those dots are actually showing Roma settlements at that time, in the Society for the Improvement of Local Roma Communities, NGO that I was working, we mapped about 150 Roma settlements in Belgrade, and they were dispersed around the city territory. And so that is one of the very important characteristics of Roma settlements in Serbia, that here in Belgrade, but also in Serbia, that they are small and they could small comparing to some other countries, and that could be found really in very different locations in the city. So this map is showing the image from now 20 years ago, and some of those settlements have been resettled, some they've been evicted, particularly those one in the center, but some new has appeared because people moved. I'll go back now to the situation in Serbia. As I said, Roma are traditional part of Serbian cities, but for a long time we didn't have any idea where they are located, what are the conditions there. In 2000, after the political changes, after the social changes, when we switched from social to this new neoliberal, or how we are calling this new system that where we are living. So it was also an important input for the to tackle this issue of Roma housing or Roma position in society. Serbia has adopted a new law on national minority, and for the first time they recognized Roma as national minority. Here in Serbia we have 17 national minorities, Roma being recognized as ethnic community. That is very important because they have different rights. If they are recognized as national minority, they have more rights than just as an ethnic community. There have been in that light of the new law, the state also recognized the need for improving the position of Roma community in Serbia and to develop different documents, different policies, and that will improve the situation of Roma. Serbia has also joined to the international initiative called Roma Decade of Roma Inclusion, that was established together with other countries from East Europe, and the intention of this initiative was also to work together to improve position of Roma in different areas of life, such as education, access to housing, access to healthcare, to employment, and so on. And this map here and this research on Roma settlements that was conducted in 2002 actually was the first research that enumerated on Roma settlements in Serbian territory. And we can see how they are concentrated around the Belgrade in western part of Serbia. There are some on north and also on the east side of the east part of the country. It was also interesting to know that average size of Roma settlements in Serbia is between 200 and 500 settlements. That is, we could say that there are small settlements comparing to the Roma settlements in neighboring countries, for example, in Bulgaria or even for Romania. And so that was very important to know and to understand in order to plan the policies and how this issue could be tackled. But also the poverty is something that was recognized as a common characteristics of all those settlements. So I will go further. So what was also important from this point of view, how to tackle this issue and what should be done. It was also important to see the differences between all those settlements. When we are telling Roma, we are actually covering the large community, different communities of different groups. It is not just one group. Also the settlements where Roma are living are quite different. There are many typologies of of the settlements according to the time of origin, according to the position in the city, legal or illegal status of buildings and land. But the one that I will show you here is based on the quality of structures and services that actually was used in all these documents that and how the measures being planned. So we have the three main types: ordered settlements that are making up to 10% of all Roma settlements in Serbia. 20 are slums, where the situation is worst, and the biggest group are unserved settlements. I'll go back to their characteristics, but here I would like to show you also the houses, but also the maps of those settlements. So those older settlements are actually share the characteristics of the neighboring tissue where they are locating in the city. At this map, you can hardly recognize there are Roma houses. Here you can see, though, when you go to the terrain, you can see where the Roma community are living, but those houses are more or less similar to houses that are built nearby. They are of standard material. The settlements are equipped with infrastructure, or here there are some problems with paving the streets, but more or less they are, as I said, they are similar to their neighboring tissue. And in all those documents, it was the strategy. It was they were considering the equal way as any other area. But here we can see the slum situation that is quite different. And also for those settlements, for slum settlements, they are making about 20% of Roma settlements in Serbia. We usually do not have maps. Here you can see the sketch that was made by architects and people working on the project during the survey of one of those settlements in Belgrade. And the situation, living condition of those settlements are really hard, and people living there are among the most vulnerable. The houses are made of the non-building materials, or houses or barracks, how the inhabitants calling them. There is no any infrastructure. You cannot recognize parcels or yards. People are collecting raw material for recycling, and sometimes they are placing all around the houses, and so they are the whole environment is often quite polluted. And the largest group are so-called unserviced settlements, and they are built. Here you can also see these differences between looking at the map of those settlements between slums and unserved settlements. But anyhow, it is not easy to put the clear line between slums and service settlements, because inside the service settlements you can find parts that are with good houses, with good quality houses, but also there are some that are more like the slums. But anyhow, on those settlements, land mainly belongs to people who are living there, to Roma. Sometimes it belongs to some other owner, maybe some public it is public land to state, to municipality, or very, very rarely to the private owner, some other who is not from settlement. So, and those settlements are partially equipped with infrastructure, and it is clearly easy to recognize the parcels and houses, and so the policy regarding those kind of settlements was to legalize them and to improve the situation in those settlements. And so, as we can see that they are made in 70% of Roma settlements. It is more than 400 Roma settlements in Serbia. So the focus of many initiatives have been on those type of settlements, and an urban plan was seen as an instrument for legalizing them, to include them in the system, social system, and the city system. And now I will show you. First, I was thinking to present several cases from Serbia and from different towns and where we were working, but I actually at the end decided to present this one, but also to this one from Malagrupa, settlement called Malagrup in municipality of Prokuplje. That is, we could say, a successful example. I hope so that will continue to be like that, and to be more focused on the participation and inclusion of people in developing the plan for these settlements. So, what legalization of settlements through urban plan means? It means that settlements that by developing the urban plan, there is opportunity that all these structures that have been built informally, illegally, without permits, or when the land it's not sure, it is not always clear the title, who is the owner, and so on, that all those structures can be legalized and can be, and with the aim to include them in the official system of the city. That will open the space for improvement of infrastructure, for improvement of public spaces, also for improvement houses. But also it is always important to say that it is not only about housing, because as I said at the very beginning, Roma are facing exclusion from in other areas. So all of these measures should be accompanied with social inclusion measures that are related to housing should be followed by measures on education, employment, and health. And here on these two images, you can see what was set as some kind of goal. On the left side, we have the situation of one of Roma settlements in Belgrade, how it was before, and something that we would like to achieve at the end of the process legalization. Just briefly, it was one project developed, you could see, in 1994. It was a project awarded at an international competition, and it was some kind of role model by the group of architects and sociologists, and it was some kind of role model that was implemented included in all those policies and implemented also in other places in Serbia. So let's go back to this Roma settlements, Malagrupa in municipality of Prokuplje. Prokuplje is small municipality in southeast part of Europe, not Europe, but Serbia, sorry, southeast part of Serbia, and as you can see on this area photo, the settlement is located on the confluence of these small stream called Straževačka and Toplica River. And here you can recognize all those elements of very characteristic unserviced settlements. There are streets, the houses of, let's say, different qualities. Some are quite good, but finished, but also there are some part of settlements that looks more like slum. There is a public space, or not public space, but there is a space that could be public, but actually it is not arranged. And maybe you can have a better view through this panorama image. Inhabitants are Roma, who mainly arrived here from Kosovo after conflicts. And there is, it is an average Roma settlement, let's say, in Serbia. There are 50 houses being in 2019 with about 300 settlements, and settlement is partially equipped with infrastructure, and there are some houses that, as I already said, they are built of standard materials, but they are unfinished, and they have some problem with isolation, without they do not. Some of them are connected to water supply, some others not, and so you could see here how those houses looks like. But what are the main challenges of these settlements? As I said, the settlement is located on the confluence of two rivers, and it was quite often exposed to flooding during the autumn and during this because there wasn't any protection. The bank of the rivers were not regulated, and that situation that you could see on this image has happened many times. Also, as I said, some houses are built with low quality materials. Some families were living in very hard conditions. And also that is something here you could see on this image that is quite often in Roma settlements, that parcels are very small, very tiny. So when the family is building the first house, and when they are occupied almost all the whole area of parcel, but also when the person his own house, the density could be very low, and there are some parts of settlements with these dense and very closely built houses. So, but what are the strengths of this community? It is a really big community. People who are living there, they are very proactive. They are very hardworking. They have doing some small city gardening, or have here some flowers, but also some vegetables. It is a young community. There are a lot of youths and children. They are working. They are collecting. They are all engaged, more or less all engaged in informal economy. They are working on collecting the material for recycling, but also on this central photo you can see that they organized themselves when it was during one flood, the bridge was demolished, and they organized themselves and they made the bridge. They didn't wait for the help from outside, and so also the community has very strong support from the local Roma NGO, and also support from municipal authorities. And all those elements, the handling conditions, but also these strength sets, this proactive community and the support of NGO and also political will of municipalities actually were very important and the first step to initiate the improvement of the whole settlements. And the urban plan have been seen as a first step in this way. So they didn't wait to someone to come to them to offer the plan. The inhabitants, they formed the settlement community, and that was the way. And here we can see how, one of their meetings, and they made a proposal to municipality. They made a list of activities that should be done in their settlements. And as I said, developing urban plan was one of these activities that they proposed. So that is very important that when you are working on these Roma settlements, that you have, I suppose, in other situations like this, that you have proactive community, that they are willing to be part of activities that are related to their settlements, that we actively include. So this committee that they established also ensured that their wishes and needs will be included in urban plans that are going to be developed. So also, as I said, the other important element is a political will of local authorities to for inclusive policy. It is very important to have this supportive role of local authorities. Otherwise, it is very hard to work in this issue because all those documents, such as urban plans, need to pass through official municipal bodies to be adopted. And if this political will is missing, then all those steps are very, very hard to be performed. So the municipality of Prokuplje, where Roma settlement is located, they expressed its will to legalize informal Roma settlements by decision, and here you can see, and it's really in Serbian, but you can see this decision adopted by the city assembly that they want to develop the plan and actually to initiate the legalization of the whole settlement. Here maybe yes, there are also and actors that are very important in this process and that are professionals, those who are working on the plan. So architects and urban planners and also municipal officers who are working on this issue, they should, in my opinion, in our opinion and approach that actually we are applying, they should, we should provide some educational and technical support to the community and also to municipal bodies, and to give them various guidelines on how to improve houses, how to really to support them technically, not to offer them solutions. So I will go just back again to this political political will. So with all this support in was just a moment. Okay, no, let's go back. So, but also is important in this process. Roma community should really be included from the very beginning and should be very active and should be aware of their power and also the need why it is important to be part of this process. Planners or architects or professionals can use different tools or different instruments to include them. Some of those instruments are the survey that we are conducting, that we are doing. So the family survey, that is opportunity to collect data about the families, about the socioeconomic status of families, housing situation, wishes, and everything that is needed, all data that are needed for the developing urban plans, but also that is powerful instrument to inform people what the urban plan is about, what are the goals of this the plan, what we bring to them, and also to understand what are the benefits of their participation in this process. So all those surveys also can be used. It could be good when they are performed together with people from the settlement, that they are part of this process, that they are to form the team of surveyors who are going and making this survey, but together making the teams of people from the settlement, but also professionals. And so it is to really establish partnership with and good partnership with people from the settlement. Of course, when you are developing the plan, you will need a map, urban plan, you will need a map. As I already said, for many of those settlements in Serbia, we do not have proper professional maps, but for the urban plan, you need a professional map. And here you can see the group of surveyors who are making this plan, this map. It is very detailed with all elements that need to be part of this kind of map. But also it is important and very valuable if inhabitants by themselves are making and preparing maps. So they are also could go through the settlements and understand what does it mean, how to make parcels, the adjustment of parcels, how to place the infrastructure, why it is important to place the street here or there, and so on. So it is also important to that this committee, settlement committee, and architects jointly create special concept of the settlement physical development. So here we can see how people from our group are, putting their ideas on the paper. And architects and planners' role, again, I will repeat, is to be technical, to give advices and to, let's say, somehow protect those public spaces and to explain what should be done, how should be done. There are some technical standards and norms that should be respected regarding the streets or public spaces, or in this case, even embankment. Also, there should be some advices on how to enhance houses regarding some parameters and so on. And again, it is participation of people from the settlement of community is very important, but it is not enough to work alone. It is very important to work together with municipality, with local authorities, because the local authorities are those that will adopt that plan. Local authorities are those that will invest in the further improvement of the settlements, of course, together with inhabitants. And also the municipality and people from the settlement should agree on issues such as ownership of the land, construction of infrastructure, construction of houses, and so on. And professionals in this process this should facilitate all this process. And here we can see the results for this plan for the first sketch, not result, but the first sketch of the urban plan for the Roma settlement, the Mala Ruba, and you can see some question marks, you can see some comments and how they're negotiated, professionals, but most important, how the people from the settlement negotiated among themselves, how the parcels could be readjusted, where to place the street, who are the most vulnerable families that will need new houses, new housing to be built somewhere, where to place the park, and so on. And it is very important that solution, physical solution or solution for the is there, that all should reconfirm the agreement. And here you can see the signs of the members of the committee, how they are confirmed, that reconfirm the agreement on the solution that was agreed. So when you have this sketch, of course you will need again professionals to draw up the urban plan, because they are the only one who can do that. But even here, I would like to show you two situations that we also faced in this project. Although people people from the settlement participated, but very active, although we had professionals who were aware of the all needs and wishes and the previous agreement with the settlements. Here, they at the very beginning proposed one very traditional solution. They just placed the street through the settlement. It was not in line with the agreement of this one, the first agreement, and the community rejected this, of course. And they said, okay, but it is something, maybe that is according to some rules, maybe it is according to your traditional understanding of an urban plan, but we doesn't want that solution for our settlement. So they've been very persistent in that, and at the end, here we can see the solution that was adopted, that is the same one as to the one that was agreed earlier. So what are the effects of adopting the urban plan for this particular settlement, but also for other one? Could say it was that opened the space to legalize the whole settlement. It was the open space for legalized housing, for resolve the issue of property and the security of tenure, that opened the space to access to public funds for settlement upgrading and infrastructure, streets and regulation of public spaces, and also to protect settlement from flood, access to other funds, but also to build a new social center and new social housing in the settlement for the most vulnerable. And by now there are some results achieved. Here you can see on this aerial photo from Google, there is a newly built over 400 meters long stone embankment for protection of the settlement from flooding 2 years ago. Here you can see how this construction works, on how this area now looks, and here you can see this protection embankment. In this this summer. You can see the mask and the situation like that. But the new housings, new social housing were built in the settlement, and we have here situation before 4 years ago, and those settlements now are moved with in new houses that are built in this here. You can see them here inside the settlement. And so the families that were living in slum situation, in the like slum situation here, they are now moving in these new settlements on the other side of location. So they stay there in the community. We are not so happy with this architecture, that they are quite yeah, we are not happy with them with that, but the conditions are much better than the previous one. What is also important, that community from Malaguba stays to be very engaged. They are still proactive. They are organizing cleaning of the settlements. They are also very engaged, since it is a very young community. They started to networking with other organization, young organization in Prokuplje, but also in Serbia. Their municipality introduced some programs for including settlements to provide better health care system, and also to include children in the school. And so far the situation is moving forward. So there are some concluding remarks. It is from this one example, but also from the other example, I would say that an urban plan is a powerful instrument and the basis for the legalization and future development of informal settlements. But legalization and developing urban plans requires inclusive urban planning and design of settlements. And an inclusive approach implies that general urban rules should be adjusted to minority needs. This will, as we see from this case, it will improve the living condition of Roma, of people in these settlements, but it will contribute for sure to well-being of the whole society. And in all this process, participation of the community is the key. But also it is very important to empower people to participate, to empower people from the settlement, but also, as we saw, it is very important to empower sometimes professionals to be aware of this inclusive urbanism and this inclusive approach. So with this last slide, I just want to send this message: support Roma's right to adequate housing. So, thank you.
Well, I would like to ask a question. Thank you very much, Zlata, for your presentation, very detailed presentation of this legalization process. Actually, I have two questions. One is both of them are difficult, because one of them deals with a small detail that strike me during your presentation, which is the fact that there's an overwhelming presence of men in the pictures, a gender disbalance. And in my experience, women are very present and quite loud in taking part in consultations. They react very quickly. And I was wondering about the particular situation in this community, or is it just something that has to do with the selection of pictures? Are men more likely to be in command and to take decisions? How does it work?
Yeah, Thank you for asking this question. When I made a selection of pictures, and I realized that there are really few pictures with women, and it wasn't situation that they were not involved. They've been very, as you said, very loud with the comments, but not always being present at those meetings. They are more influential. They have more influence, I would say, from from the back. They are always present somehow, and they are influencing the whole process. And really, they are very important in this in all these processes. Uh, when this settlement committee was established, we were discussing that should be also represented by both genders, with men and women. And they also, yes, they've been part of officially, they've been part of this settlement committee, but not always been present there to express in that way their opinions and their feelings so openly. And yes, I would say that is something that should be more and more that we should not be, but in the future or be more visible. Let's say there
And
is not lack of influence, there is not lack of interest, but it should be more visible. Yeah.
so when men go home, they are told what to do.
Yeah, I would say.
I do the same.
Because
And a second one, which is even more difficult, but it raises questions also related to our collaboration with Technische Universität and some people here being involved in the education of students, has to do with how to make it more appealing as a profession, this sort of activity, because people want to become architects in order to build beautiful buildings that are presented in glossy magazines and stuff like that. Then some of them discover urban planning, but they still have in mind urban gardens and turning Champs-Élysées into an urban garden and stuff like that. So very sort of prestigious and nice. But quite few of them would focus on poverty areas, and even there, the fact that you have to start with a solid urban planning that creates opportunities, this legalizing is not attractive. So you presented it, and it's a slow process. It takes a lot of time. You need to negotiate with some guys. How should we attract students and people into this sort of activity? Should we tell them about parties with Roma and drinking with the guys and Roma bands playing loud brass instruments? It's also a fun part in it. Should people be engaged into this? And yeah, I mean, it is responsibility. It's a very solid issue. It's a very important issue. But how are we going to attract more people into it?
I don't know what are the situation on in Vienna, Technical University of Vienna, but for example, here in Belgrade, during my study, when I was a student, we even didn't mention something like Roma settlements, or we didn't any lecture on that. We actually, I've been aware that Roma settlements are existing when I've been architect, when I started to work in this society for the improvement of local Roma communities. So I think that is the question of the curriculum, is one of the things. Yes, we had the chance to see yesterday Professor Kapoor that he is working with his students on this kind of programs and projects, but maybe it could be good to see what are the curricula or other architecture faculties here in Europe, and how many programs and seminars are dedicated to Roma or to informal, particularly. Yes, I'm presenting here the situation of Roma that I'm working, the subject that I'm working, but there is a bunch of informal settlements in this part of Europe, and that is that actually we are not learning about them. So architects, of course, and you, even me, started to study the architecture. I was thinking that I will do the things, the huge buildings or something important, but yeah, at the end, I realized that is not something that I would like to work on some other things. And as you said, it is really a long process. You can build a house in 1 year. I wouldn't say that is easy to negotiate with a rich investor, but this is more complicated because in this process we are really facing with huge prejudice, you know, of many, starting from people from municipalities, starting from neighbors, we are all aware of the many protests that majority that against the construction of new houses for Roma. So it is not just building a house, as I said, it is much more than that. So it is not just about designing. Yes, it is very important to think about the space and to design the space and to plan the space that is of a good quality, but it is not only about that. But also, what is my impression here now in Serbia, there are more and more projects that are people are more included in such activities. But they are here just to done the job, not to think about this. I'm being frozen for a moment. Not to think in the way to provide good quality solutions for those people. Although,
Okay, thank you for the time. That's really interesting about the community participatory, right? Um, I have two questions. The one is about history. I don't really clear about the history of Roma, but why they do get that discrimination? What are Roma did or what the history before? And then the second is this is the collaboration of three stakeholder. It is about the government and then the community and the professional that I was get. And the question is, who is the leader of the project? The real leader? It is the community, the committee, or the professional? Because the professional has the idea to build the housing, and then some ideal architecture ideal, and the community has the reality for they live, for they their activity and everything. What is the main decision maker? Thank you.
thank you for the questions. Roma has arrived in Europe long ago in 15th centuries. They moved from North India. They traveled from North India through Asia and through Egypt and arrived to Balkans, to Europe and to Spain. And here in the Balkans, they arrived together with Ottomans. So, and when the Ottoman Empire been dismantled, they stayed here to live here, for example, in this area, but also they stayed to live in other countries. Why discrimination? They are discriminated just because they are different. In that sense, they do not have their own homeland, and quite recently, European Union recognized Roma as the citizens of the European Union. So they do not have their homeland that they could protect their rights, for example. They are so there is a very complex situation that are many Roma are very poor, low educated, they are doing low quality jobs, and there are those kind of exclusion and discrimination that are facing many poor people and vulnerable people in our societies. So if we could summarize, just briefly, so these differences due to ethnical and cultural differences, and sometimes the and of course this poverty issue that they are working in very low paid jobs and low quality jobs with they cannot access to education and so on. So everything is very mixed and very, very complex. So it is, as I said, they are traditionally part of this society, and unfortunately they are facing this discrimination. And why? Unfortunately, that is the situation, and that is life. I would really like to that we do not have such a situation, because they are living even in some countries, in European countries, even more than some other citizens. For example, in some Serbian cities, Roma are living longer than are staying there longer as a community than majority. So. And in this, if we have the second question, if we have politicians or municipality, local authorities, we have professionals in Roma community. As I said, it is always the most important thing is to have a proactive community. It is the community, and this community settlement committee or the local NGO that is supporting this process. If they are active, if they are always pushing, and if they are working together with other stakeholders, the process is moving forward. So it is, if municipality is the one that said, okay, we would like to improve this settlement, but if they do not have a good partnership with community, they will not succeed. Professionals are important in the sense that Katalin explained, that they should understand the situation, that they should be support, that we should support, and we should provide this technical assistance, that we should support community in all this process. But the community is the key.
Okay, thank you for the answer. That's good.